Cha-cha-cha-cha-cha! Hello, everybody. Welcome back, welcome back. Look, I found my Jester hat. Now I have Jester privilege, and I can say whatever I want without consequence. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. All right, let's get into it. Oh, I wanted to go over something. All right, so my neighbor's kid, he's an adult kid. His motorcycle sputtered out and died right in front of the driveway right when I was out there. I was just like, uh-oh. And then it went up the street, died. He went back down, and when he got his helmet off, I just hollered at him. I'm just like, dude, your engine is inefficient. It's shaking itself apart. You know, it's got air going all over the place because it's a really loud rice rocket. And I've been able to tell for a long time it has this like, you know what I'm saying? It's got that a hiccup in it that prevents that solid rumble that makes an engine sound healthy. And I've been able to tell for a long time, like, you know, that thing is gonna come apart. That thing is gonna mess itself up very seriously if it doesn't get tuned properly. And I can't help but think that a lot of these rice rockets, a lot of these crotch rockets, they're very specifically tuned to be able to pick up very quickly and move very quickly. You can see it. You can see them, increase 50 miles an hour in a second. That isn't good. That actually isn't good to be able to do that super quickly. It's like electric cars are a good example of this. Electric cars have so much torque, but they have so much torque that it doesn't translate to efficiency, something I've been preaching on recently. It doesn't translate to efficiency, and it can just like break itself and buckle itself out because it's hitting a lack of proper coordination. And they probably pitched this shit as, oh, we'll be able to get new, like the computer chip in the Hellcat, the Dodge Hellcat. We'll be able to get more stuff, more advanced than that, and it'll be able to be put in and it'll be able to get us up to 200, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, why do you even need to get to 200? Oh yeah, Ahmed and Benjamin are racing with Rodrigo and Jamil on the roads, and they all need to get to the line first. It's just no, you don't. Take it easy. My buddy Jamil, I don't know why I mentioned that name, but he rides motorcycles, and he's a safe, respectful driver. And it just goes to show. It goes to show with your mentality that if you care about shit in the long term, you're not just looking for that instant gratification. You're not going to act like that. You're not going to buy shit like that. Something that I've noticed in my county is I've always been aware of the 3 shifts. I've always been willing to work third shift. The issue that I'm seeing is that the new third shift is racing your vehicles on the public roadways, which you moved into and you've hardly paid for it all. It's about keeping people up at night when they have to work in the morning, but when they go to work in the morning, they have a nice peaceful, in the first shift, everybody goes home. The cops that protect those people and prevent them from getting killed by people are up at night, and then they go home and they sleep. And then the first shift is just peace. So when kids are going off to school, when people are going off to work, and when people are working and kids are in school, it's peaceful. Right? So on paper, it looks good. Then second shift kicks in, and you see a ramping up of aberrant road behavior. And that hits a maximum at like 11 when third shift comes in, 11 to 7. That's what I've noticed for a while now, and it's interesting. It pretty much does align with the cops' schedule and the cops that have to protect these freaks while they do their little racing games, like you see a lot in Las Vegas. And you've probably seen a lot in Detroit and Los Angeles and New York for a while with how corrupt those police officers are. And you got a lot of the same people coming into my backyard. It's very likely that that's when the cops sleep, and that's when a lot of these people get their, necessary rest in, wake up at like 2, take amphetamines, and then get back out there on the road, because I very rarely see anybody who's not like either skinny fat or just straight up like skin and bones who's on a rice rocket. It's different for Harleys. Harleys is a whole culture. Indians, Harleys, I almost said Mongols, but that's a biker gang. That's a whole nother culture. And in fact, my uncle, who I talked about recently, he was a biker. He was a very dedicated, biking aficionado. I just thought that was interesting because, well, he scared the crap out of my mom. I'd really love to know if he had any kids and if I could, get to know any of my cousins. That would be nice. Well, yeah, they'd be my cousins. I've never met anybody on my dad's side of the family. It's a little sad, but it is what it is. It's consequence of having a hybrid Catholic Protestant family. It's very difficult. It's like a house divided sort of thing. But my dad is a very good person, and my mom is a very dedicated, good person, and they try their best. And more recently, they've been working things out quite a lot, and I can't help but think that I helped a little bit with that. Just being able to have another perspective, it helps a lot. Anyways, let's get into it. High-speed rail to car rental depot is such a dog shit future, and you see that with a lot of these high-speed rails. It's just like, oh yeah, you can transport somebody in 90 minutes or 100 minutes across the entire country with these high-speed rail projects. And then, like, we have car-dependent infrastructure. It's 100,000 degrees or minus 20. What the hell are you gonna do? You gonna walk around the street? I just saw a 21-year-old get hit and killed right after another person got hit and killed, on their bicycle. You gonna go to a rental place. That's what it's gonna be. It's gonna be more rentals. It's gonna be more own nothing and be happy. That's what the high-speed rail is all about. And what does it cost? Hundreds of fucking millions of dollars so that people can pretend it will increase business. What's gonna increase? Only the businesses around the rental places. Only the business around the depots. That's what it is. That's the future of this bullshit that people are planning, the city planning. It's almost worse than the 15-minute city ideas, but it will lean into 15-minute cities in the future. If rental places are the big booms, people will just spend all their money on rentals. People will spend all their money on Ozempic instead of getting regular food. And then the pharmacy companies and then the rental companies and nothing that actually helps people in the long term will get the money and power and real estate as people die from their bad decisions that are hoisted on them and advertised to them. Something I noticed, I don't think AI can recognize a human face without a mask or an open mouth. Oh. I don't think that's possible. And it's funny because there's so many pictures of people who put their fucking open mouths. Their fucking open mouths on their thumbnails, and it's ridiculous. But speaking of which, I'm happy to see that Brent Daniels happy. He's smiling, He got COVID recently, which is fucking insane. I hate to say this. I'm sorry if you hear this, Brendan. I love you, man. I didn't know a single person who got COVID like 2 years after, or 3 years after, or 4 years after, or 5 years after now, because it really started in 2019, who didn't get mega boosted. I'm sorry. That's my opinion. I'm not a medical expert. My mom is a microbiologist, so I have a little bit of expertise. I've been in microbiology labs since I was a little kid. It just goes to show you do not trust the pharmaceutical companies. If you're on the left, don't trust big pharmaceutical companies. If you're on the right, don't trust companies that are trying to destroy your bodily autonomy. Okay? Simple as that. Please. It's like, do your research. Do your actual research. Don't you dare say, oh, I don't understand anything about that. Nobody else does either. That's why there's just expert scientists. Meanwhile, Fauci is torturing beagles in Tunisia. Those are your experts. Those are your scientists. Come on, man. Cut that shit out. Etymology lesson. Etymology is the study of the history of words. The word Maya is related to the word mayor or major. It's also related to the words mother and midwife. Also the wet nurse, which is another relation, of the Egyptian pharaoh Tutankhamun. It's closely associated with the ancestry and mercantilism words. And the goddess Maya is the mother of Hermes in Greek mythology. Also, check out the Popol Vuh, or Populus Vox, or People's Voice. The Mayan origin story from Central America. Very cool word. Also, it landed into J.R.R. Tolkien's works. A Maya is like what race Gandalf is. It's also the race of the Balrogs. So when Gandalf and the Balrog were like falling and fighting, that was like a angel fighting a demon sort of deal. And that's why it's like very contrasted, but it's also like the inner power, not just how teeny tiny put him in my pocket Gandalf was in that fight. The name Ryan is derived from the Irish ri, meaning king, and morphing into regal. I love etymology so much. Study history, study language. It'll get your brain, it'll get your noggin jog, and it'll get your brain lit up. It's really underrated how bad nicotine is for your mentality, for your brain. It makes you much quicker to anger, and anger or infatuation, you see. Anger or infatuation. It's blinding. Because you're looking over here, you're not looking at this or this. You're looking over here, you're not looking at this or this. And if you manage to be like, I guess the word is bipolar, and marry your anger and your infatuation, you might end up swinging so hard you completely and utterly disbalance yourself and fall to pieces. Just like an engine that isn't balanced and falls to pieces. And it's sad because I hope that kid is okay. Well, he's not a kid, he's an adult, but I hope he's all right, you know, because I heard him go down the street and it stopped another time. And it's just like, oh, God, this isn't the place for that anymore. There are people being hit on their bikes. Literally, there was like a 22-year-old that was hit on his bike the other day and killed. Ugh. And it's the people that are moving in from the city that most of them don't know any better, that are coming in here and putting litter everywhere. I gotta pick up litter in my fucking yard all the time now. It's getting better. But the guy's dad, he buys these really, really expensive, noisy Rams, and it's just like, okay, you know, you're getting something that you think is going to be a good, you know, deal and will provide for you for a long time. But then he has to park all of his toys, and so he wipes out multi-thousands of dollars of native plants, where he could have, as I've described, parked his truck and was parking his truck without killing them. And he just turned it into a giant parking lot. Now it sucks. It's gonna get super fucking hot in the summer. Ah, well. Like one time I was up on my roof trimming trees, and he like backed in, and he had to like step out on my palm trees little border area, the garden that you put up wood chips in and prevents it from growing stuff that suck up the nutrients and allows the plant to grow good. By the way, secret, if you want a plant to grow good, you have to prevent grass from going around it, because the grass will parasitize all of its nutrients away and prevent it from growing. That's why you put mulch around there. That's a good secret. And he like has to very carefully maneuver himself out, and over time, him parking right there made a big sandy patch in my yard. And I just, you know, politely holler at him from the top of the roof, "Hey man, you know you can park on the street, right? People do it all the time." And he's just like, "Well, I'm scared." Oh man, that's how you can tell he's from the city, because he's scared of just like this random chaos that he comes from. And he's getting better and better, you know. My neighbor's getting nicer and nicer. It's been difficult dealing with these city folks. I miss my old neighbor a lot. She was a sweetheart, and she was very intelligent, very peaceful. But mainly I miss the like old America, back when we respected, you know, birds and dogs and possums and all the nature that is enriching. It's incredibly enriching to be able to see possums scurrying through your lawn and through your yard every once in a while. They're not going to hurt anybody. They eat up ticks. They prevent tick proliferation. One of the reasons why there's ticks everywhere is because people sicked their dogs on possums as much as they did the invasive hogs. It is what it is. King Cobra JFS got banned for... I can't say it. If you know, you know. He got banned for saying something very funny, but ultimately it's like, you know, people with HIV who have been inflicted with HIV, sometimes through cutout blood clinics that were infecting people with HIV-infused transfusions. Those people don't deserve to be associated with P. Diddy and the shit that he does. So... Stop the madness! Stop the madness! Anarchists have a tremendously ordered fashion and philosophy. A true anarchist would mercurially flip from free thought to free thought. You actually see a lot of anarchy in our medical system, in our insurance system, in our high-level business, in Wall Street. That's what anarchy really looks like. That's what a lack of borders, a lack of established rules, being able to rule from the cloud city and fire lasers down on people below you, maybe hypothetically, maybe literally in the future, and I don't know. That's what real anarchy actually looks like. So if you want anarchy, go join Wall Street, be a wolf of Wall Street, do whatever drugs you want, sleep with whatever women you want, have no laws, have no order, have the police protect you from people who want to establish order. That's what anarchy looks like. All right. Christians really need to put the petty differences aside and fight together. It makes no sense to divide yourself up on little teeny tiny petty issues. We're not from the heavily divided Holy Roman Empire, so to be a Lutheran is to notice the imbalances in this one contiguous empire. We're all of us Calvinists. Even the Catholics are Calvinists. I've noticed this. Calvinism is based on the merchant John Calvin. Some people speculate he might have been called John Cohen. Maybe where the word Calhoun comes from, but that's neither here nor there. That doesn't really matter. What matters is he came from Geneva, and he brought with him this. The waters of Geneva are clearer, purer, and whiter. And so, if you're not baptized in them, if you're baptized in the waters of Geneva, the clearest, purest, non-factory runoff water up on the mountains, then you have a purer, whiter soul. That's the philosophy of John Calvin. That's the philosophy that allowed the Dutch iconoclasts to destroy their country. I hate to say this, but it's true. That's what allowed. It was a tool that the Londonering politicians and merchants used to twist the knife in that they've been already stabbed their backyard for like 800 years, or at the time like 300, 400 years. And that is the ultimate philosophy of America. And when we notice that, we can start moving away from how corrupt Calvinism is, maybe move towards closer to Lutheranism. Both Catholics and Calvinists can move towards the center and come alongside the Lutherans. Be like, you know what, you guys had some good points. And they'll be like, yeah, you guys have some good points too, and you guys have some good points. And we can all come together and we can all fight against like the militant atheism. That's ultimately the biggest enemy. If you're an agnostic and you just don't want to fight about it, that's fine. But if you're like a lot of the people that got big on early YouTube, is a big problem that early YouTube had. It is that was pushing those hardcore militant atheist types, edgy shitheads. You know, I don't have a lot in my head, but I think like maybe Sticks and Hammer or something was probably one of those, but like I don't know. It's before I was really watching YouTube that much. But when I was growing up, I was like playing songs in my head without earbuds and thinking that if I started to play songs artificially, that would lose my sharpness. And guess what? I was super sharp. I was super sharp and in tune because I didn't have noise going on in my head all the time. And that's something I've been thinking about a lot recently, is this weird 3-part schedule where the first part of the day is for waking up and getting ready, and the second part of the day is for coming home and accomplishing tasks. But that third part of the day, which was supposed to be for sleeping, is actually not for sleeping, but is instead for making a tremendous amount of noise and racing while police protect you from the citizenship who are watching their babies wake up and cry. That is a big issue. That prevents people from falling asleep normally, and then they need to take drugs, or they need to work so hard, which you can only do so much. And also, like, there are disabled people who can't. Or you stay up until 4 or 5 in the morning when it starts to get quiet. That's a big issue, I think. That will screw up people's brains. That will drop the IQ of the area down significantly. And we've always had an extremely high intellect in my backyard because this is NASA. NASA, I still would defend. NASA are the good guys, but people have been noticing recently that something ain't right. There's trouble in paradise. Something ain't right with a lot of this new shit. And if you want to blame anybody, blame Obama. Obama was the one that took all the funding from NASA and said, this is white people shit, and then moved it over to a South African. No heat, Elon. I'm just saying, man. Like, you gotta get your shit together, dude. You really do. Like, I've been watching pathetic shit constantly. In fact, we have a launch at 1 in the morning. You know, a lot of people are on break, but it's just like, Jesus fucking Christ, dude. You gotta stop this shit. They literally never used to do launches in the middle of the night. But they do it these days because the middle of the night is about that fucking race, that noise. Rodrigo and Benjamin racing each other to the white line to nowhere. And then what? It's something I would posit to every racer. And then what? I genuinely believe that the more of the actual enjoyment and morale of the base level of your population goes down, the less people will care about whether or not you win the race, because people are just trying to fucking survive, man. And it's weird how Steam made like 80% of the great wonders. Another 10% was built by like physical labor, like climbing up with ropes and shit. And then the other 10% is built with like diesel, you know? Steam. It's been Steam. It's been the slow process of storing energy and releasing it in certain ways. Not about how much energy you can release in a couple of seconds, but how efficient you can channel energy and store it in certain places and release it in others. As simple as that. Going back in the day, you know those obese female fetish figurines? Those little, you know, highly curvy fetish figurines that go up like that. Sometimes. Those represent an ability to give birth even if a famine strikes or freezing temperatures strike, which are very common in the area where those are proliferate. I thought that was interesting. It's like, that is the indomitability to the events around them. And so when you have tons and tons of factory pollution and shit, the new fetish is the person with clean hair, nice hairline, clean skin, clear eyes, not skinny fat, not obese. That's the new indomitable against the factory foods, the factory runoff. That's the new shit. All right, that's good enough. Take care.